You're listening to episode 31 of the Afros and Pixie Dust podcast, Starchild Social with Tiffie. Hey, Dis friends. Welcome to episode 31 of the Afros and Pixie Dust podcast. I'm your host, June. The month of November is going to be really busy, and I'm excited to share everything that I have in store. First off, we're going live all month long. November is now Livember. Every day this month, there will be IG Live takeovers on the Afros and Pixie Dust IG page, and it'll be featuring different Disney POC Instagrammers. Check in every day to see who's hosting and what they're talking about. It all starts on November 1st. This weekend, I will be co-hosting a meetup in Disneyland for a Dapper Day with Black Girl Disney and Bounders of Color. It'll be on Sunday, November 3rd at 1 p.m. in Toon Town by the fountain area. So come through and chill with us. There will be a few meetups at Walt Disney World Dapper Day. Anna from Disney Con Sabor is hosting a meetup on Sunday, November 17th at 4 p.m. at the American Adventure Pavilion in Epcot. And I'll be co-hosting a series of meetups with my Disney sis, Adriana, aka at Bippity Boppity Broke. The first one will be on Friday, November 15th at 8 p.m. at the Boathouse Courtyard in Disney Springs. The second one will be on Saturday, November 16th at 1 p.m. in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge in Hollywood Studios. And the third will be on Sunday, the 17th at 3 p.m. in the Italy Pavilion in Epcot. So if you'll be around on those days, come out and get to know your fellow Disblerds and Disnerds. This week's guest is Tiffie, and I consider her my California cousin. She is a former cast member, a current Disneyland annual pass holder, a cosplayer, and a vlogger who highlights a lot of Disney on her YouTube channel. Tiffie is one of the first people that I connected with in the Disneygram community, and it was an instant friendship. She has such an amazing aura and an infectiously positive vibe. You can't help but smile when you're around her. You're about to hear only about half of our conversation because we were going in from the jump, and unfortunately I had to edit a little bit out due to time. So without further ado, let's get into my conversation with Tiffie. Hey Tiffie, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, this is long overdue. I say this every episode, but I am so excited to have you on.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, you're like one of my West Coast sisters.
That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. I love you.
No, I'm like, she was born in the wrong state.
But you know what? That all my dad's people are from New York, so I like my heart is there. It's in my blood. I think that's what you're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah,
that
that's not a surprising statement because I'm like, yeah, she got to have some kind of New York in her.
That's so funny. But we're all Brooklyn people. I heard that Brooklyn and the Bronx don't. That's what I heard.
Funny story. I'm a Bronx girl, born, raised.
Uh-huh.
Spent all my formative years in the Bronx. I got my bachelor's degree in the Bronx. So,
Okay.
and I went to high school in Brooklyn.
Oh.
So I spent a good 4 years commuting from the Bronx to Brooklyn.
Uh-huh.
And that's not a quick commute, just so you know.
Well, yeah, I was wondering, like, for a California person, like, New York seems so tiny. It seems easy, but that's not a quick little.
So on the train, it's at least an hour. It's at least an hour commute. And then you're supposed to be, going to school at whatever time school starts.
Mm-hmm.
I won't get into the details of my high school history, but I think it started around 8 or 7. I don't even know.
That sounds about right. It sounds like
So like
I
you'd be
recall
up
those
at
days.
like, the butt crack of dawn, like 6 a.m. or something, or 5 a.m. trying to get on the train. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
lucky, it's an hour, sometimes an hour and a half because it goes local, express, etc., whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so that was a big sacrifice. But yeah, I spent 4 years living my formative years in Brooklyn, being told that they had the best rapper and having the Bronx pretty much being read for filth. And I was like, wow, y'all really something out here.
That's hilarious.
But I still love Brooklyn. Brooklyn has my heart because I met some of my best friends out there, my lifelong friends. So it has its ups and downs. But yeah, Brooklyn and the Bronx have, I guess, a love-hate relationship. But the thing about it is that people from the Bronx will visit Brooklyn, but people from Brooklyn won't visit the Bronx. So they don't even know what the Bronx is. They just assume, like,
They just
they
assume.
they just go by the three television shows that they've seen on TV with like burning trash cans and
Oh no, not the burning trash cans. I just I just know that I went out to New York last year to see family, and someone brought up the Bronx, and my aunties were all like, "No, no, we don't
Mhm.
go to the Bronx." And I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh, okay, well, now I know. It's
yeah,
interesting." I
yeah.
think I told him I had a friend in the Bronx. Yeah, I was meeting up with my friend, and they were like, "Well, you can't go to the Bronx. He can come over here." And I was like, "All right."
Hmm. Yeah, it's a thing. I don't know like 100% how it can. Maybe it's from the Warriors movie. I don't know if you know Warriors.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where it came from, but yeah, it's a thing. I don't know why it's like that, but now with Joker dancing on our steps, now everybody's up in here with their mama and cousins taking pictures. So I guess.
That's what I heard. Like those steps were kind of notorious for not being like particularly like, no one hangs out on those steps, but now suddenly it's become a little tourist spot.
It's a tourist spot, and it
That's
it is what it
crazy.
is. It is what it is.
How do you feel about that? Because I'm not there, but it makes my shoulders kind of like it makes my teeth itch a little bit.
Well,
But
New York in general, I feel has gone through many metamorphoses
mm,
where back in the day it was like, oh, dirty, it's unsafe, and you're gonna have rude people and stuff like that. And then it slowly evolved through different elected officials to become like this tourist place and like, a destination for everyone to go to. And they kind of like, made it glamorous. And so I feel like all of New York has slowly become, like, for lack of a better term, like gentrified. Like, this is the place to be. This place is great. This place is great.
mm,
And, it started in Manhattan when the mayor kind of cleaned up Times Square, and
mm,
that became like the destination. And like everyone wants to go there now because that was not the case always. And then once Manhattan or up, the city became more popular and overcrowded, then it kind of filtered its way into Brooklyn. And then,
mm,
like before Brooklyn was like people looked down on you when you went to Brooklyn or lived in Brooklyn, like, oh, you're too broke
mm,
to live in Manhattan. And then now
mm.
broke like you can't even find a place to live in Brooklyn. And
Right, that's who we were. And I was like,
so
oh,
it's been like a slow evolution. And even like Manhattan, if you go further north, like uptown to Manhattan, it's still not necessarily the Manhattan people assume it is. So I
mm,
find it very funny when people come to New York and then they step off of like 42nd Street and they're like, oh wait, the whole city isn't like this. It's like, no, you're still in the New York of back in the day. Like it still exists. It's just that that's not what's being publicized because that's not going to get
right.
people out here.
Yeah.
So the whole city has slowly kind of like evolved based on like different towns. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess the Bronx is last, but I don't know. It is annoying, and my heart does go out for the actual people of New York, the people that, came
Mm-hmm.
here because they were, fleeing, the Southern discrimination that they had to deal with
Mm-hmm.
and tried to make communities here. And, despite the as hard as they tried, just the system was not there for them in many different ways. With just housing, healthcare, childcare, family support. And then, the crack epidemic hit very
Right.
hard in New York. And so it kind of hurts me a lot that those people aren't benefiting from,
Mm-hmm.
this boom, this boom that the city is experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what really makes me feel kind of some type of way, because those people are being priced out of their homes.
Right.
They're not being able to find places to live, and the people that are renting or were renting to these people are purposely making the conditions unlivable so that they have to leave. And
That's
so,
terrible.
yeah, I think there needs to be lots of reform, and it's just
Mm.
that's what's really like disheartening for me about my city.
Yeah,
I know I
I'm
kind
real
of went on a little
sorry.
soapbox, but
No, that's okay. That's perfectly
yeah.
okay. That's
But
I had no idea. Like, you hear about gentrification, and we saw it when we were in Brooklyn. Like, my dad was able to tell me, like, all of this was different. My mom and him had been back there not too long ago, and even my mom was like, "Yeah, this just a few years ago wasn't this bright and polished," which was good for the city in some way that they described, but also because it was pricing people out, because it was getting rid of so much of the culture of New York. Like, that to me is sad. So,
yeah, and the thing is, like, well, twofold. Like, for one, no matter what you do, like, you can make it as pretty as you are. It's still New York.
right.
You're not gonna carve out your neighborhood that you came from, in another part of the country and create New York. It's not gonna happen.
Mhm.
Even on the poshest street in New York, you will
Mhm.
have poor people walking down the street. So you're never going to create something that makes you feel great 100%. And that's the
Right.
thing. It's like, even if you make beautiful multi-million dollar high rises and developments, you still need to address the people, like the people that are here, the people that need
Mhm.
help, because when you price people out, they're going to be sleeping on your steps. And they
Pretty
should
much.
be,
Like,
you
yeah,
know
what are you going to do to accommodate them?
so it's crazy because, like, you can walk down a street in the city and you'll see, like, a movie star, you'll see an athlete,
Mhm.
and then you will see someone homeless walking right behind them.
Mhm. Right.
And that happens all the time. And people tend to just want to look away and ignore that.
Mm.
And that these are all people that deserve to be here. These are all people that have a right to be here. And
Mhm.
I mean, I feel like we need to address it all. But yeah, it's twofold. And then, a lot of times people say, like, why didn't the people that were living there develop the city or the community to make it to what it is now? And then it's like, you got to really go back in history. First of all, y'all's president had a lot to do with
Y'all.
what's going on in the city. First of all, he was like, one
Mhm.
of the pioneers of not giving people what they deserve,
Right.
um, to have the ability to make better, to improve their communities. So, like,
Mhm.
you can't just say that, because if you can't get a loan, if you
Right.
if you
And when the system is designed specifically to see those people not succeed, you
mhm,
can't ask, why didn't you make this area better? We didn't have the resources. And when it was attempted, like, there were specifically movements against those attempts to stop them from happening.
right,
Like,
exactly. So
it's historic. That's an incredibly ignorant question for someone to ask that. Like,
yeah, because that's the first thing. It's like, oh, but you're mad that people are coming in and creating businesses, but why didn't you create business in the first place? Like, you think I didn't want to?
right.
So it's like, if you can't get the capital to do it, and it also goes into generational wealth. It's like such a slippery slope when
Right.
you really start to think about it and talk about it.
Hmm.
But it's a big issue, and it's not like people aren't happy that communities are starting to thrive, but it's like the
Hmm.
people that are in the community, the people that truly make up the community need to benefit from these things,
Absolutely.
in order for it to actually be a community, a real benefit to the community. So,
Even on smaller levels, like when you hear on the news about just the music that would take place on the streets at night or the block parties, things like that. And then here's someone that's not from that neighborhood that has moved in talking about, oh, you're too loud, you're disrupting the peace. And it's like, this is the culture here. You moved to our neighborhood. Like, even on smaller levels like that, just Beauregarding your way, Columbusing your way in.
For real, for real. No, it's really true. So it's like it's so many issues on so many levels. And, I don't know if people really know like how difficult it is to kind of address it all. Or
Yeah.
what or how why people feel the way they feel about
Right.
all of this. But now that we've gone on amazing tangent, which
Yeah.
has to be like episode all on its own. Oh my gosh. Where do we start? Okay. Why don't we start off with you telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm a creative. I think that's the best way to describe what I do. And it took me a long time to be comfortable saying that, because sometimes it can sound a little bit pretentious, but ultimately it's what I do and it's what I love to do. And I do that through digital creation like YouTube and traditional painting methods, and I cosplay. That's how I boil it down. I really love Disney. I love nerd culture and fandom. I like expressing that through my different art. I love Sailor Moon and anime and lots of things like that. Makeup. Yeah, that's me. Yes.
So do you feel like Disney over everything, or
Probably Disney over everything.
yeah.
I think that as far as what's shaped me as a nerd and what I was really into as a kid, it'd be Disney and Sailor Moon. Those are the two constants that have like always been there.
I loved Sailor Moon as a kid. I didn't like, I don't even know if they continued the saga like throughout the generations, but like
Yeah.
that was, I feel so bad because I'm like, because I feel like when I was a kid, like all props goes to my brother. Like he was like the King Blurred. And so he put me on to a lot of stuff, but like he was 8 years older than me, so we didn't really like vibe. So I would just like admire his fandoms. So he was he was like the expert on everything Dragon Ball Z. He used to make like little clay models. He was like into like kung fu. He taught himself, I think, like 2 or 3 languages just by like watching like the movies. And then like I was just in the corner like, oh, that's kind of cool. I should learn that too. So I feel like I'm not like a full-fledged blurred the way I should be. I'm like a blurred by association.
No, girl, please.
I don't know.
That's okay. There's no like minimum amount of hours you had to put in order to be considered a blurred now. Like, your experience is completely valid, even if it was witnessing your older brother do certain things. That's fine. Like, that's how it is for a lot of people. I had my older brother 7 years older than me, and he taught me how to play video games, or he taught me to lose gracefully at least. So it was a long time before I could beat him. And anytime I did beat him, he would restart the whole console. I just want to throw that out there so that the whole public knows that my brother was a punk that way. But yeah, completely valid that was your nerd experience.
Shots fired for your brother. No, but
Yeah.
I know lots of siblings that used to do that. I feel like
that is the biggest punk move. Like, the record still shows 16 losses to my 1 win. Why you gotta reset the whole thing? Like, that was to me the biggest whatever.
Nintendo Wars, right?
I'm getting my feelings right now about it. Like, I'm about to call him after this and be like, and you know what? Like, it's gonna be
you owe me a rematch, bruh.
That would be hilarious. That would be so funny. I don't know if my pride, I do a lot to work on self-love, and I don't know if that'd be fair to myself. Like, I've gotten pretty good as far as video games, but I still don't know to this day if I could take my big brother. Like, as much as it pains me to admit it. My cousins, though, all day. All day.
All right. We gotta do like a little tournament or something.
Let's
like
do it.
Brackets.
I'm ready. I'm so ready. I'm ready. Dance Central can't touch me.
Oh.
I'm so good at Dance Central.
Okay. Let's find out.
Yep. But I'm that nerd that takes those moves and tries to use them at a party. Like, don't let Milkshake come on anywhere, because I have all the choreography just down.
Okay. We need the video evidence of that.
Oh, done.
Just saying.
Done. I've been
Just
waiting for
saying.
someone to say that. Done.
So you're Disney over everything. When did
Disney
your
over.
love of Disney first start?
I watched a lot of Disney movies with my cousin Jamina, and like that was our thing. Always watching Disney movies. It's the only thing. There's so many childhood movies that I haven't seen that people tease me for because all I wanted to do was watch Disney movies. And Little Mermaid was my favorite. Aladdin was my favorite when that one eventually came out. And Disneyland. If you asked me when I was a kid, I would tell you that I didn't go to Disneyland that much. But then as an adult, I realized that we went once a year, and that's a lot. Because San Diego, now San Diego isn't that far from Anaheim. I drive my own car. But as a kid, for my parents to take us to Disneyland once a year, it was kind of a lot. So now I feel bratty for ever feeling that I didn't go to Disneyland a lot. But looking back, it was such a huge part of my life. And so specifically within Disney, although I love the movies, Disneyland I'm especially passionate about. So that's kind of where it started. And I was that weird kid that would always look when they had the very early Disney fan pages with behind the scenes information and just all the history of getting the movies made. I used to absorb that, and I would just take that. And I think I was probably always destined to be a tour guide because that's how much I absorbed Disneyland information specifically.
Mm-hmm.
I just love that park so much.
So you said you loved The Little Mermaid and Aladdin. Would you say those were like your favorite Disney movies? Are those your favorite ever?
Those are my favorite Disney movies ever. Which is funny because people ask me my favorite Disney movie, and I'm always like, I don't know. There's so many. And my niece was actually over, and she yelled at me because she was like, TT, look around your room. And my room is covered with Aladdin stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess Aladdin is my clearly my favorite. So it's not until recently that I started acknowledging Aladdin as my favorite, but it's always, now that I think about it, yeah, I might be obsessed. I didn't realize.
No judgments. We all,
No,
have our favorites.
yeah, right. I cuddle up to an Aladdin pillowcase at night and everything.
Oh, so Aladdin animated and live action, which one did you like more? Is that even?
The I like them for different reasons. Like the classic, always classic Aladdin. Like I feel with all the Disney remakes, like the classic is gonna stand first and above and beyond and everything. What I really liked about the live action remake is that what they took what that animated feature did and they just made it so much richer. So to me, Princess Jasmine was always that princess that was stunting on everybody because she's like the baddest Disney princess. She probably has the sickest wardrobe and she's just like surrounded by riches. Like I feel like the European princesses, they're royal and that's cute, but Jasmine was like, let me show you some real jewels and how we do this and how decadent we are. Like Jasmine was like that lush princess to me. And I like the live action version of the movie because it feels like they really brought that to life. They use all the texture and color and culture of Agrabah and really built on everything that the classic animated movie established. But everything that I feel that Aladdin has been, like the stage shows, they had it at California Adventure for the California park. And then they also did the Broadway show. It seems like every time they make that in a new way, everyone has the same vision of making it as rich and luxurious as possible. And I just love that about Aladdin.
Yeah, because Agrabah is probably like the richest country. I don't know what they call it. Richest land, like
Yeah,
nation.
country. Yeah,
Because I mean,
kingdom.
it's I mean, it's in Persia,
The
Africa,
Middle
Middle
East.
East, Middle East. I'm trying to think of like what's the proper locale, but yeah, it was in the Middle East.
Hmm.
So that's probably one of the like the richest like
Right.
land
Hmm.
of all of the mythical lands that they've had. Um,
Hmm.
so she got to show. She got to show
You
off.
got to show out. Like, and I think when it comes to live action, because we see, Cinderella and her situation, we see Sleeping Beauty and Aurora's castle where she was from and everything with the Maleficent movies. Beauty and the Beast was the only one that really played with like decadence and going all out with drip and just everything in the movie. So Beauty and the Beast was pretty comparable, I feel, but Aladdin just
But
took it to a
that's stolen
whole,
riches. Just saying.
just yet still. Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
let's
They
not,
showed
let's
up
get off
on
the
set with
politicals.
all the Swarovski crystals, and I appreciate that so much. And they said, put crystals on everything, everything. Put it on there. Peasants, put crystals on the peasants. They need to sparkle in that set. Like, it's what it feels like.
So, would you say you identify with Jasmine, or is there another character you feel like embodies your personality?
Um, as far as the characters,
Hmm.
Tiana is someone that I identify a lot with because of her relationship to her with her father and with food. And for me, like cooking is a big thing for me, and it's something that I learned from my dad. And my dad and I have had a very rocky relationship. He's always been in my life. We've just had issues in our relationship. But the kitchen is a place where it's kind of like neutral territory. We get along there, and I've come to really appreciate that aspect of our of the journey that we've had. So for there to be a Disney princess whose relationship with her father stems from the kitchen, that's something that really resonated with me as well. So Princess Tiana, as far as that goes, I'm not sure if there's another princess that I felt that I really identified with. I think as an adult, if I liked Ariel and Jasmine as a kid, it was really off of some superficial thing. Like, look at their hair, and she's a mermaid. She has a tail. That's how I connected to them. It really wasn't much beyond that. But for Tiana, her also having to, the story had a good balance of wishing upon a star and that magical Disney aspect, but her through line throughout her entire film was working hard to achieve your goals. And if that isn't just like a real message for me as a person, as an adult, like that's something that I take away at this point in my life. Just how much hard work has to go into making your dreams come true, even though that dreaming phase, that wishing upon a star phase, I think is also very valid. It's nothing without the hard work. So,
Yeah. And like her dad said, you can like wish and wish on a star, but you still gotta put in that sweat equity to achieve your dreams,
ooh,
which
the
is like,
sweat equity. I love that. I
but it,
love
it was
that.
straight facts. And I was like, you know what? He got a point there, man.
Ah, shut up. I feel like there's a blooper reel somewhere of him voicing the character saying that. You know what I'm saying, Tiana Main? You got to Can you imagine?
Oh my gosh. Imagine, imagine.
That'd be amazing.
Let's see if they do a sequel, which I hope they do. We asking for it. Let's see. Although, that gentleman did say he was retiring, but hopefully maybe not from voiceover work.
Who said they were retiring?
Terrence Howard. He said he was retiring.
Oh, oh, yeah. Adam, yeah, I don't know how they would bring her daddy back though. So I don't
Hey,
know.
that's unless they did like a no, she
Uh,
was young for them to do a back.
oh, that'd be very cute. Or even if they did like, how like they release different side stories or cute little vignettes about the characters or whatever, like featurettes. They could do that, and it can explore more of her childhood and her experience with her dad. That would mean so much to me to see that.
That's
So much.
true. Like her, like we all asked to see her in her restaurant flourishing, living her best life, and then she can kind of go back to like, oh, I remember my dad and I made this. You know,
Oh my god! And it could be the recipes. Oh, that should be that.
yeah,
Oh, I'm gonna cry. You're trying to make me cry in this thing. That'd be dope.
yeah. All right, we got to start coming up with more suggestions to send to our friends at Disney.
Yeah, because it's a great time that they're listening now. And it feels amazing. There are so many things happening with Disney that I wouldn't have thought in a million years would ever happen, and it's happening now, and it just feels really good.
Yeah, me too.
Not that it's perfect, but baby steps, and it's
Yeah.
moving in the right direction. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Disney fans will ever be satisfied because I mean, we're all diverse and we all
Hmm.
have different desires and things that we feel like are more important than others. But I'm glad they're at least trying or starting to try to get there to be more like knowledgeable and inclusive into what they're trying to do. So,
Hmm. And we're getting more seats at the table as well, and that feels really good.
Yes.
Getting more people in the room saying, hey, this is what we would like to see, and this is not really jiving with us so much. Like that, that feels really good. One of the people I work with at Black Nerd Problems, he was there for those meetings, and so he was able to provide some feedback, and it felt good because we don't see it here on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Like we just kind of see what Disney produces, and sometimes we might know someone with an insider tip or something, but to hear that they actually are, from what he described and what he saw at that table, there's so much representation, and Disney has taken a real interest in hearing what people of color and what Black people need and what we want to see and how we want to be heard as Disney fans, because that's a difficult balance sometimes, being Black
Mm-hmm.
and being a Disney fan, especially given the history. So
Yes.
I can forgive so much of Disney's history because, and it's not to excuse it, but you know, a lot of it is very reflective of the times. I think a lot of the people that were involved in the decision making back then are no longer with us. And the company changing to reflect what their fans look like now and what their fans need in order to be a part of this incredible world that they create, that means a lot to me. It means more to me than what the company used to be about and what it used to stand for.
Yeah, and it says a lot that, one of the biggest companies in the world is making that effort to acknowledge their fans and to make what they produce more reflective of the
Mm-hmm.
people in the world. So I think that is worth commending, and it's just a start, but at least we're getting this somewhere. We're starting somewhere, we're
Mm-hmm.
getting somewhere.
I don't. It's really interesting to me when people say, "Oh," especially Black folk, when they're like, "Well, Disney's just trying to get your coin, and it's not genuine." I'm like, first of all, like it's a company. Their bottom line is making a profit, and they can do that without input from the Black community. And if they lose us as a demographic, how much would that? They're so powerful. How much would that really, really hurt them? So I feel like they're going to make the profit anyway. I appreciate that they want to include us and that they want to do right by us in the process, because they're not obligated to. So for me, it's not them trying to make money off of our culture, off of our community. They're going to make money anyway. I'm
Yeah,
happy that they're representing us better and listening to us more in the process.
I agree. And I feel like just with seeing, the projects that they have planned, the projects that they're working on, so a lot of times you'll see like, oh, well, we have one that's one note, but it seems like they're trying to even like broaden the way that people see Black people and the way that people see people of color. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like they're just trying to really like check
Capital.
boxes,
Yeah.
as much as they're really actually trying to integrate more diversity, more multicultural stories and experiences into what they're doing. And so, I mean, I appreciate that.
I
And it's
do
it's not going to
too.
happen overnight. So,
No, it's not.
I mean, I don't know if you heard about Mulan, the live action Mulan going through 4 months
Yeah.
of reshoots. Um, for it was not tested well apparently in the most recent like previews
Oh, really?
with their audience. So I don't know what was not doing well when they were showing it, but now they're
Mm-hmm.
actually going through like several months of like reshooting a lot of the scenes. So I'm interested to know exactly why.
Right.
I don't know if it's because it seemed to be so far off from the animated version. I don't know if people didn't understand that or enjoy that, or if it was, just plain old bad acting. I'm not sure, but
Mm.
it's really interesting to see.
Maybe it's because they took Mushu out and put in Boo Boo the Phoenix.
Who don't even talk?
I don't know that bird. Like that
Whose
to
bird is
me,
this?
why? I listen, I try to be so open. I feel like I am so open when it comes to these remakes. And I'm very much like, well, let's just let them tell the story in a new way because that's what Disney does. But I'm confused about this decision.
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
confused.
I mean, I'm trying to stay open-minded.
I'm trying.
Um, So I don't know. I don't know. We'll see, I guess. Or will we? I don't know.
I'm sure it'll
If-
be great, but
I mean,
that one took me by surprise.
yeah. I don't know. Like they can't table the movie now because they've already like hyped it up so much. They can't say, "Oh, never mind, we're not going to release it." But
I think it's the same thing that happened with Princess and the Frog. That was delayed for a very long time because the feedback from the Black community,
mhm.
back then was not positive for the movie. So I don't think that they're going to table the whole thing, but it's good that they're willing to make the changes because and I'm sure it takes them over budget. I'm sure it causes a lot of inconvenience, but the fact that they are still making the changes necessary, because I did hear that there was a lot of dissatisfaction, but same thing, I didn't know why, and I
Mhm.
didn't hear that they were doing the reshoots on it. So I that makes me feel confident that they're trying to put out not only a quality product, but they're sensitive as to what it represents and the story that they're trying to tell. So
Yeah.
I respect it.
Yeah, my only hope is that like they're trying to make things more respectable and accurate. Like as long as y'all
Yeah.
stay along those lines, I'm all for it for whatever you do. But like in this day and age, it's not just about being cute.
No,
You
it's
know.
really not. And I know that people find that exhausting, but it's better all around. It means that more people can find this experience enjoyable and they can have the same sense of magic and wonder and escapism that everyone does. I don't see what's wrong with that. For people to be so bothered by it is kind of just like, does it really affect you? Does
Hmm.
it really?
Right.
Does it really? Come
And
on.
you have to remember when things are for you and when things aren't for you. Like if someone is going to be offended or someone's not going to be able to take pride in their heritage and who they are because of the way they're represented
Uh-huh.
on film and in media, if you can't relate, that's your problem. Like you just can't relate. But that doesn't mean
Right.
that
It's
it
not
doesn't
for you.
matter. That just means that you can't relate. Move on.
Right. That
But
is very
support that
much
person
how
who, yeah.
that's the response that I saw to Black Panther a lot, especially on like the comic book forums and the Marvel movie forums. People were so quick to dismiss it as a bad movie. And it's like, is it a bad movie or is it that you can't relate to the specific story? Which is interesting because at the heart of it, this boy done lost his father. Now he has to be king. His punk ass cousin done come along and snatched his throne away. So he has to figure out some stuff in order to get it back and figure out who he is in the process. That's the base of the story, and it's extremely relatable. Like it's not that hard. The fact that it takes place in Africa and it's not seen as some poor, destitute, dusty country, that Wakanda is, like, is that such an issue? Is that really so bad for you?
Hmm.
And the fact that people just really hold on to that, it's like, just say you don't like black people and delete your account. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, just say you was ignorant and
And log off. They do the same thing with women, like Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman had the same problems, and so did Captain Marvel, where they tried to bury the movie before it even came out with negative reviews. Like it's weird. It's such a weird thing.
yeah, it's like why you hate so hard? Like love
You
yourself.
hate so hard. That must be exhausting. Aren't you tired? Don't you want a nap?
Right? I
I'm
can't.
tired of talking to you.
But you are a self-proclaimed blurred.
Yeah.
How do you like to express your fandom in general?
My fandom, I really enjoy cosplay. Cosplay for me, I've been doing it since I think I did my first cosplay at 14 or something like that. So I've been doing cosplay for a super long time. And it's just like taking a character and bringing it to life and being able to embody that character to me is just super, super dope. Like I don't know. I don't know if that's like supreme nerdiness, but it's just really cool. Um, and then for me, like I said earlier, with my connection to Princess Tiana, I like finding ways to blend my fandom and food. And so when I cook for people, finding ways to theme my meals around Disney movies, or Harry Potter is one that I'm jumping into right now because I just got a Harry Potter cookbook that I'm super hype about. But those are the big ways, through costuming and through like feeding people and tying it back into the fandom somehow. Those are the big ways for me.
So I'm gonna need a plate or two, sis, because you talked about food twice,
I
and
did. I did.
yeah, I'm gonna have to see what you all about.
We could do that. Like we could absolutely do that. There's a whole there's a whole series that I've been it's been a passion project of mine, my little baby, for past, it's going on 3 years that I've been working on bringing it to life. But it's just something that blends fandom and food and taking specific Disney movies. I used to be very secretive about it, but even if a million other people do the same thing or try to take my idea, I've come to the conclusion, like, no creator does two things the same. So at this point, I'm not keeping it a secret. But just taking a Disney movie and exploring the culture that the movie came from, the history of what it took to get the movie animated, because all of them have a little bit of drama associated. But the big culmination of it is a dinner party where it's just the food of that culture, from the fairy tale, and if there are any specific foods that are mentioned in the movie itself. Because to me, that is just like the best way to show my love for my friends, show my love for Disney, linking it back to Disneyland and where they can find similar experiences in the park. Like, I'm so passionate about that. So I got you on several plates, however many plates you want. Just come to my dinner parties.
Yes, that sounds dope. Do you know about Ghetto Gastro?
Ghetto Gastro? No, I
Yeah.
don't.
So big up to the Bronx, first of all. Let me just say,
Ow.
um, Ghetto Gastro is a collective. It's a brand of several men that basically they're chefs, and they come from, they come from the Bronx. They from around the way, and they've had checkered histories and whatnot, but basically like food kind of helped them through a lot that they
Mm-hmm.
were going through. And they are culinary artists, and they create food, and now they travel all around the world and cook for people and do amazing things. But they actually did, I believe it was for the premiere of Black Panther, they did a pop-up, and they did the food for the premiere of Black Panther. And
Okay.
so definitely look them up. I can probably send you the video because I think I like saved it because I
Please
love
do.
it so much. But I'll definitely send you the video. But yeah, they did the food for Black Panther, and they kind of tried to like make it inspired by the movie.
Uh-huh.
So I thought that was really dope. But like I think that whole concept is a really great idea, and I can't wait to see what you come up with.
Thank you. I'm super excited about it.
Yes.
So please send me that about Ghetto Gastro, because that sounds right up. That's right in my
Okay.
wheelhouse. I
Yes.
like it.
They have a TED Talk too. I'll send you that too. He basically does a TED Talk in a do-rag, and I was like, hello.
Yes.
Yeah, I was really excited about that. But yeah, for real, for real. I think it's a really great idea. So
Thank you.
on with it, sis. Come on. So you go to the parks often now. How often do
Mhm.
you go?
I go a couple times a month. I've been lately. It's been like once a week or so. But on average, like once every 2 weeks, I stop by, because I'm down in San Diego, so I'm a good hour and a half away from the park, and like I said, I work full time, so I try to make it up there as often as I can, and to really maximize on my trips when I'm there, so that like I try to film a lot and take a lot of pictures. And just recently, I was just like, I'm tired. I'm just gonna walk around and ride rides and do that, and it was quite nice. It was quite nice.
I feel like Disneyland is so chill. It's like perfect for that.
It's beautiful, and it makes me feel really happy that I'm able to go as often and just use that as a place to walk around and escape. And it takes, like, I love being an annual pass holder, because it takes so much pressure. Like, a lot of times when you try to go to a place like Disneyland, you want to fit as much as you can in one day. Like, I got to do all these rides and see all these shows and eat all these foods. And just one of the benefits of having a pass is going, well, today I'll try this and this, and if I don't, I'll get it on the next visit. And it just takes a lot of that stress away,
Yeah. I
which is
can't
which
wait
is
to go
good.
back.
I can't wait for you to come back. It'll be so dope. We need to go back and eat more food and go to New Orleans Square
I
and get more
know.
beignets.
I'm gonna have to bring like 3 outfits, like just in increasing sizes because the amount of food that I'm gonna eat, I'm not gonna be able to stay in the same clothes.
You know, so yep. Sometimes you got to pack extra clothing. I definitely understand that. There have been times where I've eaten. I've eaten real good in the park and been like, now why did I do that before I was supposed to take these pictures? I've done that once or twice.
Listen, the struggle. Well, the thing I love about Disneyland is like the two parks are close together, and everyone is into like locker culture out there. So no one really comes in one outfit. So
Yeah,
I feel like
that's the best way to do it.
it's acceptable to have like several different outfit changes in the parks.
Is that not what y'all do in Florida at the Florida part?
I mean, I've never really used the locker, but I don't know if that's just me. I don't know if a lot of people do use the lockers in Walt Disney World. I'm gonna have to
I
put up a poll.
love lockers. Oh my God. It's a game changer, but I don't like carrying things. I don't like carrying a purse, nothing. That's why I love mini backpacks. I leave my hands free so that I can do activities. But even if I'm not changing outfits, that locker it makes the whole day different for me.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I know people suggest it, especially because it rains a lot in Florida. So like
Oh,
a change of shoes and socks and such, but
mhm.
I've never used them. But I carry a stroller almost all the time. So that's
That's
my locker.
true. That is true.
So maybe that's why I can't relate.
That's okay. When you come out here again, I'll get the locker. You can share my locker and I'll introduce you to locker life.
Oh my gosh, you're the best.
Yeah. I can't wait to be a Disney mom. I probably carry everything on the stroller, like extra prepared. Like I just want to travel with a whole, just I don't know. Like I don't like having things in my hand, but if I'm pushing something like a pram, like a stroller, oh man, I'm coming stacked, ready. Snacks on snacks on snacks. Ugh, extra
You
batteries, just the life, huh?
you know you've gone overboard when your kid gets out the stroller and the stroller tips over. 'Cause
That's so funny.
you don't pack way too much stuff, and that's
And
happens
it's
to me
all
on
hanging
several
off the
occasions.
back.
Like you
You know,
gotta
I've
sit
seen
down
that.
because I need the
I've seen that
counterweight.
though. And like, you got to sit down, sit down, sit down. So now I know you want to walk, your feet hurt, but come on.
The struggle.
I'm ready for it. I would do it. I don't even care.
But no, it's clutch. It's clutch for real. For
What's it like? I want to ask it like a mom that does Disney and theme parks because I was when I was there my recent trip, I realized like what a place of privilege it is because every single stall when I was waiting for the bathroom, every stall that had a woman in it, there was also a little tiny set of feet because they all had to take their kids and with them. Just
real.
is that what it's like being a mom in the park? Like you always have to take this little person just with you and you never have a moment of privacy. Is that really the life?
Pretty much, even at
Yeah.
home.
Even at home.
Like so last week's episode was with Frank Abney,
Hmm.
who is an animator. He's, animated on a lot of my family's favorite Disney films or
Hmm.
films in general, like period. Like he's that dude. And I was just saying to him, like, I think when I first messaged him, I was just like, even if like you can't make it to the show or whatever, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to have a hot shower every now and then. Like be able to like,
Oh,
poop.
because he distracts the kid.
Yes, I'm like my kids love your work and that just allows me to like be able to poop in peace and
Hey,
not have to
listen,
explain every body part to them all the time.
that's
So
hilarious. I just wondered. I like applauded those women. I'm like, dang, like, and one woman had her two kids in there, and that just blew
mhm.
my mind. I was like, what?
And the real struggle is figuring out which one you should put on the potty first because when one watches the other one go, best believe they're going to have to go even 10 times harder than
Really?
when 5 minutes ago they said they didn't have to go to the bathroom. Yes,
Oh my
it
god!
is. Yes, it is like so you have to gauge who's dancing a little bit more,
Oh
like
my
who might have a smaller bladder. Like you have to.
god!
Yes, it's burned me several times when like I put the wrong kid on the potty
Oh
first.
no! Oh no!
But you
That
said they
sounds.
have to
Oh,
go.
and
Yeah.
I want twins too. So like, I'm.
Sis. Okay.
She said, mm.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
twins. I'm speaking it over my life.
okay.
Is she
I'll
okay?
stand and agree. I'll stand and agree.
So when I call you crying,
It's okay. I mean, like, I work with babies, so I can give you some
that's
tricks
right.
and whatnot, to divide and conquer, but it's a lot of conquering you got to do. Just
A lot
saying.
of conquering.
But
That's
yeah, like
funny.
in the parks, when you're in the parks with kids, you don't really have free time. I mean, if you go with both parents or if you go with a friend, then you can kind of tag team
Uh-huh.
and you may be able to get at least one bathroom break by yourself. But if you're going to the bathroom, I mean, rule of thumb is you're taking your kid because they're not going to always tell you. They're almost rarely ever going to tell you when they want to go because they just want to enjoy everything. They don't want to miss anything. So
Right.
anytime you're going to the bathroom, you're going to take a kid or both or however many you have because there might like the next moment might be that moment. And you don't want to have to
Right.
stop and buy clothes and all that stuff. Although I will say Disney is really great about like gifting items when kids get sick or kids wet themselves. I've seen so many testimonials about them, getting little gifts or stuff,
Yeah, we've done
and
that lots of times in guest relations with kids that have little accidents. I remember those days.
yeah, so I'm really
Yeah.
grateful for that because, the lines do get long. But
Yeah.
I mean, rule of thumb, just to be safe, always take the kids with you anytime you go into the bathroom. Just do
I'm
it.
taking notes. I do not know when the children will happen, but I'm best believe I take notes from my friends that know.
For sure, for sure. Well, my kids will be older, so if you need a nanny.
They will be yeah. Oh, yes. That's the one thing I'm very happy about. Like waiting later in life to have kids. Ah, I got babysitters galore. I have 8 nieces and
Oh,
nephews.
okay. Oh, you
So,
good.
oh yeah. Listen, I will never see my own child. No,
I
I
heard
could
that.
never. I could never.
But you go to the parks very often. You shoot content. What are your favorite things that you do when you are in the parks?
Recently, eating the food. That's the third time I brought up food.
That's okay. I'm cool with that.
It's just I do the thing is like Disney food has changed in recent years. Like they've really taken a real effort and making actual good food. Someone showed up with seasoning and just opened up their whole world to possibilities, and it's been a game changer ever since. So I really enjoy like when they have a new menu, like the Halloween menu or the holiday menu or whatever special occasions going on. I really enjoy trying out those foods that are new. And then I'm really big on Disney history. So there are certain attractions that I know that have been there for years and years, and outside of just being updated and cleaned up, are pretty much the same as when they opened, like Pirates of the Caribbean and the Enchanted Tiki Room, things like that. I like sitting and just absorbing like the Disney magic and thinking about like what the park has seen throughout the decades and the type of people that have visited and just the different changes that has gone through. It like replenishes my whole soul battery just being there. Is that weird?
No.
Maybe. I don't know.
You asked the wrong person though.
That's true. A whole bunch of Disney fans know that's perfectly valid, sis. Go off.
Please do. Please do.
Yeah, but that's what it feels like. Even when I try to think of content because I want to utilize the time that I have there and make content for YouTube and things like that. But I could be happy just walking around looking at places and either remembering good times, the memories that I have associated from my time there as a cast member, or just reflecting on the history of the park and because it means so much to me and to so many other people. Like I just find that so incredibly dope. But I've always liked history. So for Disney to be like this living iconic place that has seen so much and it's gone through the test of time so often, like to me is just super dope.
Hmm.
I
Have you?
really like it's kind of weird. I like lighting fixtures around Disneyland. I don't know how it is in Florida, but for Disneyland, if you any land you go into, any location, look at the lights because it's such a tiny detail, but it ties in so well with the theming and the storytelling of any place. Like it's really crazy. Just so things like that. I go around looking at light bulbs.
We should do a page. You should do a page like Lights of Disney or something.
I
Disney.
I actually film. I have a video for it, and it's just like different things, and I just when I remember to actually film them and I splice it together. So it's on the way.
Okay.
The
So have
lights
you,
of Disneyland.
I'm telling you, but no, but I agree with you. Like a lot of times, I mean, just the decor alone, but especially the lighting really fits the mood of the location that you're in, you know, and it
Hmm.
plays a big role in the theming of a lot of their attractions and just their restaurants, like everything. So,
And to me, that's what makes Disney so different from other theme parks, like Six Flags or Magic Mountain. They're gonna have more thrill rides. There's a lot to do at those parks that for some people is way more exciting. But Disneyland to me is about the immersive experience. It's like entering this bubble where the outside world doesn't exist. My bills, I don't know them. Like every problem that I have outside the world, I can put on hold for a moment when I'm in Disneyland. And it's because everything just makes me feel as if I've stepped into a storybook. And that
mhm.
to me is just super valuable as an experience.
Yeah, it's like a great escape.
Yep. Which is why, like, did you hear about old boy that was like, stealing the stuff in Florida and
Oh,
then and got
yeah,
caught?
that
Yeah.
dude. You saw his interrogation when he tried to grab his phone?
Yeah. Oh my. What the heck was that?
Yikes.
I'm just like, what
The
were you
privilege,
thinking?
though.
The privilege,
The
because
caucasity.
it couldn't have been one of us. That's been it. That video would have gone real fuzzy after that. The tape would have never been released. But
Hmm.
what did he think was gonna happen when he grabbed the phone? Did he think the officer was gonna be like, "Oh, you're so fast. Well, it's yours now." Like, what was your plan? What was your plan B? So
Mm, 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 mm.
but it burns me, especially when cast members steal things. Like that to me is just like it's so weird. Stop. I mean, everyone's doing something for money these days, but that, sir, weirdo.
That's too much.
Now
So
you're on the internet.
have you been to Walt Disney World?
Yes, but only when I was 10 years old. So, like, that was a fun family vacation we took. And so much has changed since then that yes, I've been, but I can't say that I remember too much of it.
Yeah.
Or if it counts, because it's time to go again. Like, I want to go so badly. And I want to go to Tokyo Disneyland because everything there just looks phenomenal and amazing and just wow, colorful.
Hmm. We got to get
Hmm.
you back. We'll
Yes,
talk. We'll talk
ma'am.
after the interview because we gotta do some planning.
Yay! That makes me happy.
It's gonna go down. Okay. So between Disneyland and Disney California Adventure, do you have a preference?
Disneyland.
Okay.
Next question. No, no Disneyland. I think that California Adventure has come a super long way. They've done so much to that park to make it just a much better tourist attraction. I like the big redo they did back in like 2012 when they rethemed it to be Walt Disney's Experience when he first came out to California from Missouri, I think. Like that was really dope when they rethemed it, and then everything that they've been adding recently just to incorporate more Marvel and more experiences. That park has come a long way. It used to just be a glorified mall, and if you were from California going to a place called California Adventure, you're like, cool, that was down the street. So I think that it's come a long way, but nothing's gonna top Disneyland.
The OG.
OG park. From all the parks though. Like
Yeah.
especially like I appreciate the Florida park and Disney World with this big old grandness, but I mess with Disneyland. We're literally the only park that Walt Disney set foot in. And that to me is pretty dope. So
Hmm. I know. I can't wait to go back. I mean, I'm so sad that I'm only gonna be there for like 48 hours literally, but
stay longer.
I wish.
Stay longer. It's cool. No, you don't understand. I'm giving you permission to
Why,
stay
thank
longer.
you.
You're welcome. It's cool. It's done.
The final say goes to the tiny feet that won't be in the bathroom with me on this trip. So, but I can't wait just to like really be able to like observe everything and see this, the original and see what it's all about. So,
Yes. So good. Our castle is tiny but mighty.
yes. No, but it's cute. It's cute.
I'd probably go to Disney World and see the Cinderella castle and just like cry
Uh,
because I do appreciate a big, grand castle and just the scale of it. So, I mean, I love Disneyland Castle, but I would probably have an emotional reaction to the Disney World one.
have you seen the pictures of, I think it's the Hong Kong castle? And they're like reimagining it, and it's supposed to be um like a hodgepodge of like all the different princesses. It's like 13 different types of castles merged into one castle. I don't know if you've seen pictures of that.
And no, have they been working on that?
Yeah, they have. And they've been showing like pictures here and there. And some people love it, some people hate it. It I'm like, it's kind of weird to me. It looks like I have to send you pictures, but
Yeah, like I'm trying to Google it now, and I'm just like,
yeah, it's Hong Kong. So they're reimagining the castle, and it's going to be I think it's supposed to be like 13 different princesses. So I guess
mm-hmm.
Cinderella, Tiana, does she even have a castle? I don't know.
No, we only see Tiana's palace, and it's
Yeah. Like Jasmine, Pocahontas, Rapunzel, Belle, Merida, Elsa and Anna,
that's a
Moana.
lot of different styles.
Yeah. So, are you looking at it?
Well, just going on based on what you're saying, I see an article, but they don't have
Like
pictures.
pictures. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's
but
like,
that interesting.
mm-hmm. So I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Um,
Yeah. I definitely want to get to those overseas parks just because they have so many different things to offer. But yeah, that's a goal. Especially Tokyo. I really want to book their show actually, the Big Band Beat. Oh, you
I
see
just
that?
sent it to you.
Yeah. Like what is that? That's so funny. You said that quick.
But yeah, I mean, it's okay.
Oh. Oh,
It's different.
interesting. That's it's a lot.
Maybe when it's done, we'll get it.
Maybe one. Yeah. That. Sorry, I wish I had more of a reaction. It's like one of those things. Like, what is this gonna look like when it comes together? I see the vision. I'm concerned about the journey. Uh, Just interesting. That's ambitious.
Yes, very. That's exactly like my thoughts. But
But that's okay because a lot of the things that we love about Disneyland, Walt was specifically told not to do, like especially by his brother Roy. Like one of my favorite stories, there's gold plating on the spires of our castle, the Sleeping Beauty Castle in Disneyland, and it's real gold, gold plating, gold leaf. And when Walt wanted to do that, Roy was like, "That's a terrible use of our money. We can't do that." He was like, "You're absolutely right. Hey, I need you to go to this meeting that's out of town. You go handle that meeting because you're so good at it, brother." And he's like, "All right, I'll be back." And when he comes back, Walt had that gold plating put on the castle. I love it though. So I feel like this is the same thing where maybe people don't see the vision, but it's so grand and so unexpected that it might just work.
yo, he's a he is like my my whole mood. I'm like, yeah, I ain't gonna do it.
Yeah, no, right. So anyway, that's exactly what he did.
Like, you gonna sing the song like I said. You gonna put that gold stuff on it like I said to do it.
Right. He was like, "Well, now that Roy's gone, get on that thing and put that." But Walt didn't. Boy, what I say? That's funny.
Listen. I know it says Disney, but
I was gonna say who's
just
it,
so
but
you
it's
know,
Walt Disney. Well, I'm Walt.
I'm
All
the
is
one who knocks.
mine. You're here because of me right now. See, that's why they can't put me in charge of nothing.
Sure. Shoot, I'm
Don't
like,
tell
we
me
gonna get
no.
that back. Don't worry, we gonna get it back. But sometimes you gotta think like that, right? Like, I'm gonna spend this coin.
Exactly. If Walt Disney didn't think like that, we wouldn't have anything. They told him Snow White was going to fail. They called it like that movie was called Walt's Folly because they were like, no one wants to see a full length animated feature. They literally were teasing him in the press and the news. And Snow White built what we have now. Like, it all started with Mickey, but as far as movies go and setting that tone, that was Snow White. And had he listened to anybody, none of this wouldn't happen. So
Mm-hmm.
that to me is incredibly inspirational as far as like being true to who you are as an artist and as a person and following your own vision, even if it doesn't look like anyone else's. So,
Yeah, that is true. And like, that is really inspiring because a lot of times I feel like, oh, if I do this, will it get a good reception? But
mhm.
like, if that's where your heart is taking you, it might be worth the journey, whether people love it or not.
Right.
Go for it. I mean,
Absolutely.
so, props to him for having that vision, for having that confidence to do it.
Because he made it happen.
Yeah, true that.
Now we all out here spending our whole entire paychecks on mouth ears.
Sharing bathrooms with our kids.
Right.
True that.
So, yeah.
So you are a cosplayer. When did you start cosplaying?
When I was 14 years old, my first cosplay was for Anime Expo, and I was Chi from Chobits. She was like this little robot, like that whole series. They're robots, but they look incredibly human. And she was a different robot, and she was very stylized, and it was a Lolita style. But that's what got me hooked onto it.
Okay. And then from there, like, was the rest history or?
Well, I stopped for a long time because being plus size and being black, there was not any representation really in the community. And I was told by people like to my face, like, you can't be this character because you're fat and because you're black. And it's really interesting because like you could say that to me now and I will laugh at you and just like keep it pushing. But back then, that really took a big toll on how I viewed myself and my space within the nerd community and the cosplay community. So when I came back into cosplay, it was doing more Disney characters, and Mario was one that I went viral with a few years ago. So that was fun.
Yeah. What are some of your
Mhm.
favorites?
My favorite, Dr. Facilier, is a lot of fun because it's like in that pinup style, and I don't know, I just like wearing tight pinup clothing, and so when I can do that as a Disney villain that's all fabulous and sassy, like Dr. Facilier is so sassy. Um, that was a lot of fun, and I still to this day I love my Mario cosplay because it's so comfortable. So, and there's a million different versions of Mario that I can create that are super fun and casual but recognizable at the same time. So that's really fun. I'm starting to get more into body paint. So especially with like Steven Universe, the majority of those characters don't have like natural colored skin. So it requires a new skill set trying to deal with this makeup and navigate that whole world. So I'm very into Steven Universe cosplay right now.
Yes, I love your amethyst.
Thank
Of
you.
course, I love it.
I love Amethyst. She's a lot of fun to run around conventions as because people expect you to embody that character. You don't have to. It's not a rule, but it can add to the fun of the experience. And Amethyst is fun to run around and just be weird as.
Oh my gosh, she's the best. Steven Universe, period. We can do a whole episode just on
I'm
Steven.
so ready. Did you see the movie?
Yes, I did. And oh Lord, it spoke to me. It was like, we
Yes.
all need closure. We all need closure.
Yep.
And you can't let these folks that be ghosting you get up in your skin and in your feelings to be having you change your whole view on life.
Everything. But the thing is, you feel so damaged and hurt, and like you don't have a right to happiness and
Hmm.
to the space that you occupy. Like I very much identified with that character and her journey. And that In the Garden song, like when I say I sat around my house singing that, just being the saddest little creature, I was very deeply affected by that movie.
It was beautiful.
It was very well done, yeah.
Yeah, I had to watch it a couple times. I mean, like all the Steven Universe, it really like gets you. Like the way they sh- give these like share these stories and like the meaning behind it through
Mm-hmm.
these like, gems, these characters. And like really it's all about healing and like, you know, Jesus, it's just beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's just about accepting yourself for who you are and accepting people with their mistakes, and
Right.
it's a very well done series. And I like that there are kids series that adults can find lessons in.
Mm-hmm.
That was the same way, because like, so Sailor Moon, something I loved a whole lot as a kid. When I watched Sailor Moon as an adult, I'm just like, oh, ooh, oh, girl. Like, there are so many bad things in that series that I love deeply, but I do have to separate, like, this is not a healthy message that I got as a kid, even though I still love this series. And there are good things I can pull from it. Meanwhile, Steven Universe is just like, just hit after hit after hit. They, the lessons that they teach. My Little Pony, as strange as it seems, My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, did the same thing. At the end of
Listen,
every little episode, she was like, Princess Celestia, this is what I learned about friendship. I'm like, there are some adults that need to hear this about how to be a
listen.
daggum friend.
That series, like me and my daughter, we watched that so many times, like front to back. Like we would just lay up in the bed and watch the whole series. I was like,
It's
dang,
so
they are
good.
preaching on today.
They really did that. Like, they really, Lauren Faust really did that. Sometimes it can feel strange as an adult being into these things and having these interests in shows that are designed and marketed for children. But I've come to just really accept it. Like, some people like different types of entertainment, and for people that connect with Disney or Steven Universe or Sailor Moon to get the entertainment value that they seek, but also the life lessons and to build the communities and connections, I think it's dope, and I wouldn't really switch it up for anything.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, adults are writing for these things. Adults are creating
Pretty
these
much
things.
right.
So
They're not written by kids.
right. It's not out of the ordinary for adults to be able to connect with it. And let me tell you something. We all been torn up by our childhood. There's all been things that have happened to us when we were kids or when we were growing up that has messed with us that we probably are either processing or have not processed yet. So I think that it's not uncommon for people to want to connect with things that are, geared towards kids or things that may make you connect with childhood or being a child because this is a lot of stuff that we may have loved or may want to repair or may want to revisit from our childhood. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
I
everyone's
like
allowed
that
to.
I like that we live in a place and a time that we can, just because it's so accessible. The internet has made it accessible. These things becoming popular again means that there are ways to celebrate the culture. Like Disney, you remember Disney went through this period of not being popular with people, and people weren't really checking for Disney. Like, do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden it got mad popular again. Like, I'm really grateful for that, because even though I'm an adult, I can still enjoy these things from my childhood in a way that I couldn't when I was a kid, especially because I didn't have the funds back then. And now it's just like I can get all the merchandise I dreamed of. When Aladdin live action came out, so they released a whole bunch of classic Aladdin stuff. Oh, I went crazy. I'm ashamed. But
But it's true. And like, there's like, I grew up not really know much about like the Disney of old. Like I didn't know much about Snow White and like, Mary Poppins and all that stuff. Like I was really introduced with Disney with the Renaissance with, Aladdin and Lion King and I mean, I don't even think I really watched Beauty and the Beast like that, but it is what it is. But and or like even like the Disney Channel, like, I watched some of it, but I was more like the cartoons on ABC, like Tailspin and DuckTales and
mm-hmm.
Gargoyles, like that was me. That was like the stuff I was kind of really introduced with. But like it wasn't a big thing. But as I got older and I got to like really experience it and really see it, then I really started to really stand for it more.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like there's a whole generation of people who may not have had the exposure for whatever reason when they were
Mm-hmm.
kids that now are getting to enjoy these things that they didn't get to enjoy when they were kids. And so
Absolutely.
Why is it that you can't enjoy it just because you got older?
I
That makes
feel the
no
same
sense.
way. Like, yep. Now I just have the funds to support my habit. This is exactly where I want to be in my life.
Exactly. Now I'm not going to be influenced as easily, by the things I'm seeing because I'm an adult and I can be more discerning, so I can
That's
enjoy it for what it
also
is
very true.
and not feel like, I have to look like this princess or this animated character, you
That's
know.
true.
So, I mean, I think it's great to enjoy and to be able to appreciate this form of art as an adult.
Hmm.
Just saying. That's my opinion.
I agree.
But going back to your cosplaying, I also loved your Dr. Facilier. I think
Thank
it was
you.
really dope. And I loved the spin that you took on it of being a vixen. Um, I think that was beautiful. I've loved your Captain Hook.
Thank you.
And I mean, I love all your cosplays, period. Because I just think it's beautiful in the way you interpret these characters and embody these characters. So I love you for that.
Thank you. I do appreciate that.
So you go to conventions. Do you go pretty often?
I do. I go to like 3 or 4 conventions a year, which, when I say that out loud, it's not very many compared to how many conventions there are. So, so it feels like a lot just because there's so much other stuff going on. But yeah, about 3 or 4 conventions a year. Um, and it's a whole different culture. It's a whole different beast doing conventions.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's a
So,
lot of fun though. It's like my favorite time of the year when the con season hits.
so like, do you like going to conventions? Like, is it your thing? Do you mind cosplaying like outside of conventions, or do you like to save
Um,
them?
I like conventions are great for debuting new cosplays and like having them interacting with people and having them seen in public. But one thing that I really liked about the cosplay community is that you can make a costume just because and put together a photo shoot and create that way. And that allows you to take characters and like with Amethyst, I can go down to the boardwalk because that's very similar to the city they live in on Steven Universe, and I can take pictures there and get really great shots of Amethyst in her actual environment. So that's the only real reason I put on cosplay outside of a convention specifically, if it's for a photo shoot. Otherwise, it's a great place to be seen and to see a lot of photographers and to see other people dress up from the same series and interact with them. So, and if the voice actors are there, that's always a big plus. If you're, oh no, my phone. Sorry,
It's okay.
over. It's just if you see the voice actors or cast members from the series, that adds another layer to the experience as well.
Yeah, I've only done like New York Comic Con and then now D23. Those are
Mm-hmm.
like the two conventions I've done, but I want to do more. Like, there's a lot of like Black and POC cons that are popping up, and I
Mm-hmm.
really want to like dive into those. I don't know if maybe I'm just a little nervous because like I said before, I feel like I'm not like a full-fledged blurred, or like I feel like I'm
You
not.
are.
I know I need to stop it. But but I would love to like connect with that community through the conventions, especially like these Black conventions. Like there's one, I believe it's in Brooklyn, that's fairly new, called like Blurred City Con. I know there's Dragon Con, which is like a big one in
Oh, in
Atlanta.
Atlanta.
Yeah, and then there was one I heard of called Wakanda Con. I don't know much about it, but I've just heard about it. I think that one's
Mm-hmm.
in Chicago. And I think MomoCon is another one. I don't know if that's
MomoCon.
is that a black one, or is just like
I
I'm
don't
not sure.
believe that that's a black one. No.
Okay. And I think there's one that's in DC as well that I can't remember the name of off the top of my head, but um like there's a few I feel like that would be really fun to go and experience like all this like Black nerdness. And I mean, I'm trying to do one for like Disblerds.
That would be really dope. That would be incredible to have and to experience. I want to go to the different nerd cons as well. I'm always really hesitant to go to cons the first year they happen, though. So I like to wait for cons to get established and to kind of figure out what it is they're going to do before I invest the time and the funds to go visit. Because I've been to conventions where there wasn't much the first year, and while I want to support, I really can't, like, I have to prioritize some things. So I like to wait for feedback and then I can know if I want to attend something.
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, like, I still haven't perfected like the convention like etiquette or like what to do. Like, I mean, I've gone to every convention with my daughter, so pretty much I go by what she wants to do, and what she wants to do is shop. So we end up spending most of the time like, buying stuff and going through the merch and all of that.
For valid, I completely relate. There are times I have to remind myself to leave the dealer hall because I don't always like to do panels at conventions. Because with panels, you have to wait a super long time, typically, if it's a very popular panel. If there's going to be a lot of big names there, you're spending the majority of the day in line waiting for something. And there's not even a guarantee sometimes that you're going to get in if they allow people from the previous panel to just stay and keep their seats. Or that you'll have even a good place to sit and see what's going on. So for me, especially with my halfway blind self, like I can't always see what's going on, so I might as well wait until the high res version of the panel is up on YouTube, and that way I can experience it without
Yeah.
sacrificing my con at the day or my day at the con. But that's what's really dope about conventions is you completely make the experience your own, and the things that you want to do, it's different for everybody. This year at Comic Con was one of the first years that I attended up completely alone. Like I used to go with certain people, and this year was completely alone, and that was kind of intimidating at first. But then I also realized that my schedule was completely what I wanted to do, and especially when it came to filming different things, I didn't have to worry about taking up someone's time or keeping them from something that they wanted to do. And it was really dope. It was like one of the best Comic Con experiences I had.
Yeah, I think I need to do a few more like without the children.
Yes.
Because I mean,
Do them with me.
yeah, girl, when? Let's do it. Let's book it. But honestly, I do want to do San Diego next year. So hopefully I can squeeze that in. I have so many dreams and goals for the next year. But San Diego, I definitely want to get in on because I feel like y'all do have the best panel.
Thank
I
you.
don't know if it's
They're
because
nice.
like, huh?
It's a big convention. Yeah, they
It
have.
is.
Mm,
Because that Marvel panel was like, I'm still thinking about it. It was
yes.
amazing. It's crazy.
WonderCon is a good con to attend as well because it has the same parent company as Comic Con, but it's not nearly as big. So that's another good one that if you wanted to attend, like as a precursor to Comic Con, especially because San Diego Comic Con tickets are so impossible to get. So
Oh, okay. It's crazy like that.
it's
Like,
incredibly crazy. In fact, I think that they already had ticket sales for next year.
I believe that because New York Comic Con, first you have to be verified. Like, they
Yep.
have to verify that you're not like, I guess, a robot. So
Hmm.
you have to, it's crazy. You have to submit your email address. I'm sure they probably do this for San Diego as well. You have
Yeah.
to submit your email address, get verified that you are like a legit person, and then they give you the right to be able to purchase a ticket. And you can't
Right.
purchase like just a whole bunch of tickets and try to resell them. Like it's one
Right.
ticket email address. And it's like, dang, y'all ain't playing.
They don't play. Yep. And for San Diego Comic Con, like you go into a virtual waiting room, and it's still not a guarantee that you will get a ticket. Like they pull people from this virtual waiting room at random, and you just have to hope that because it used to be first come first serve, but obviously that was impossible, especially when you have ticket scalpers getting as many tickets as they can. So now all you do is go into that waiting room. It doesn't matter what time you get into the waiting room because they randomly select people. You get taken to a different screen, and then you can purchase your tickets. Like it's the biggest, most like panic inducing, and you just don't know until you get it or you don't get it.
Wow. So it's like a
Hmm.
lottery.
It's pretty much a lottery. Yep.
Dang.
There's
Oh my
almost
God.
no guarantee unless you're able to get on a panel or to work. And that's what's dope about being a YouTuber and being a creator. You can find ways to get into the areas that you want to do.
Mhm.
Comic Con is a very difficult convention to do that for, but the smaller ones is a great place to start, especially if you have a platform, something you want to speak on. You can pitch panels to people and they'll give you a time slot if you're selected and you advertise your stuff. But that's your ticket right there.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, you already went over me and my issue with humans, but
You say that. You say that.
remember, I used to commute from the Bronx to Brooklyn. So I went through all of that hazing.
You survived. That gave you a strong base and a skill set that enabled you. Look how God worked. Hey, look how He prepared you. Look how He said, "Let me get her ready," and she don't even know what I'm getting her ready for. Oh, I felt the blessing on that. That's anointing.
Having to defend who I am and where I'm from, right? From the jump.
Basically, you can
That's
do it. You have such a great platform to speak on already. You can absolutely turn your experience and what it is that you're doing. Even being a Black woman and starting a podcast within the nerd community, that's your panel right there potentially. Like, you can create whatever you want for yourself and to get your message out there.
all right. You
That's what's
convinced
dope.
me.
Did I really? Yes.
We gonna do this. We gonna make this happen.
Yay!
Let's get to emailing, right?
Absolutely. Yep. And you just let me know if I can help out in any way. You know, I got you, fam.
Oh, you know it. You know it already. You on the team from day one.
Absolutely. Yes. I'm in.
So for all those people who love cosplay, want to
Hmm.
get into cosplay but don't know how, do you have
Hmm.
any advice or tips for them?
I do actually have two whole videos on it on my YouTube, and it's literally called Cosplay Tips for Noobs. But if I had to sum it up real quick, the biggest thing I can say is to just jump in and do it. Because the same thing with starting the podcast or going for YouTube, the most difficult spot is like in the beginning, planning it out, being in your own head about it, especially if you're coming into it without sewing skill or prop making skills and things like that. Those are the biggest things that people tell me they express. They don't know how to get started. The cosplay community used to be, and in some ways it still is, but their voices have been silenced a lot. But they used to be really elitist in that if you didn't completely make your own costume and draft the pattern and do everything, then you couldn't call yourself a cosplayer. I've never believed that because at the end of the day, we're all a bunch of nerds dressing up as characters that none of us own the rights to. Like it's for fun. And if you approach it that way and if you just jump into it, whatever your skill set is, that's a good place to start. Amazon, if you use Amazon, that can be your very best friend. Finding the clothing pieces you need. You don't have to sew, you can put it together. If you have the funds and the time, you can commission people. I don't sew. I can sew in a technical sense, and there are some things that I do put together myself. But when it comes to crafting full structured garments, I don't enjoy it one little bit. So I'll absolutely commission somebody else, someone that has studied and practiced and feels passionate about it, enjoys doing the work. I would rather pay them to do it rather than waste my time and resources on something I would struggle with the entire time anyway. So there are so many different resources available to you. All you have to do is have a costume that you want to do, and we can get you going. So just start, just do it, is my number one piece of advice.
Yeah, definitely. I've never really cosplayed. I made like one or two costumes, I guess is
Mhm.
cosplay, because um for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party, maybe like 2 years ago. 2 years?
Mhm.
Yeah, 2 years ago. I did Tiffie
Oh.
and I made a dress out of like grass, pretty much like moss.
Mhm.
And oh my God, it took me several weeks to get that together, of like creating it, taking it apart, creating it again, taking it apart.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but the whole process was so therapeutic. It was so much fun just to like be able to like work with your hands and use your imagination and then try to problem solve. So I just think just the process of it all is just worth it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
even if it doesn't even come out perfect, even just like going through the process. And I like seeing a lot of cosplayers that show like a older cosplay, or a subject that they cosplayed a couple years ago versus like now that they've gotten better at their skill, the way they've done it in the present.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always encouraging. So I'm like, okay, it may look like this today, but watch when I
Well,
level up.
Zuzi, even with my very, very limited skills, I can see improvement from when I first started years and years ago. And for me, even though sewing is in my bag, like prop making, that is something that I really do enjoy. And I found when I was cleaning out a closet, when I did that Chi costume from Chobits, my very first cosplay, I made a masquerade mask. And I really thought I killed it on this mask way back when. Like, I was so very proud. Took a little mask from Michael's, painted it, put some glitter on it, put some pearls around the outside, added some, like, I really thought I killed it. And then I looked at my Dr. Facilier mask, which I made completely from thermoplastic and shaped it to my face and molded it to my face specifically. I that to me was mind blowing. So same item essentially, but created in completely different ways over years of what I had gained in knowledge. That was the funnest part of making that cosplay.
Yeah. And
So
then
I
like I mean,
definitely
you
say
learn new
that.
techniques and you
Yeah.
don't know what you don't know until you know it. So,
Until you, yeah. So that's what's really dope about cosplay. If you do want to explore it as a new art form, you can use it to spread your wings and try something new. But if you have zero interest in doing that, but you just want to dress up as somebody, that's also completely valid. And there are a trillion resources to help you achieve that. And I just love it about this community that it gave artists, like I like seeing my artist friends specifically, or my seamstress friends that make this living, not just women, so any costumer that makes a living off of it. To me, that's just so dope. Like, you have people from all over the world hitting you up to make a costume, and you're able to do it, and it's something that you love. And that to me is just like its own special type of magic.
oh yeah, and like to be able to create and to do it for someone else. So,
Mm-hmm.
you're you're taking someone's vision, which they can't necessarily manifest on its own, but you're able to understand what they're looking for or what they have in mind and manifest it for them. Like that's the
Mm-hmm.
ultimate gift.
That
It's,
is really dope. Yeah.
I think it's amazing. So cosplay versus Disney bounding. Like, do you think that Disney bounding will ever, I guess they call it kind of closet cosplay. Do you think that would ever like make its way into the convention scene more past just the Disney community?
um I think that it has. I mean, like, you can categorize things down to just like the tiniest little level, and in a way, like, it already has. Like, you have cosplaying, and then you had Disney bounding. If you were doing a hybrid of the two, they called it cost bounding. And so you see a lot of that in the convention outside of Disney already, where people take a casual, and then then it can be called closet cosplay or casual cosplay. So you see it all the time, even before Leslie Kay came along and put a title on it and gave it a name. But um, yeah, it's around. I think it's dope. I'm not that good at Disney bounding because it's color blocking to represent the character, and it doesn't have to be completely accurate. Me and my cosplayer brain that specifically likes to do characters and be as accurate as possible, sometimes it's hard for me to turn that off and just go, okay, it can be an interpretation of the character that just looks like the character. That sometimes is really hard for me, which is why you don't see me post too many Disney bounds, because I don't particularly enjoy them, and not because I don't want to. I'm just not that good at them. they stress me out a little bit. So.
You should see my face. I got the Cameron lips. Like you're right.
Shut up!
Now it's my turn to big you up. Like, girl, you
No,
dope, okay? Like, stop it.
listen. Thank you, but I just need you to know that when I do post one, there was a whole lot of stress and crying that went into it. More so than any cosplay I've put together, which is backwards. But for
Yeah.
some reason, the Disney bounds they throw me for a loop. I don't know what it is, but thank you for appreciating that when I do put one together. It's nice. There
Yes.
are some people I see in the community, and they just do it like it's breathing, like yours, even yours that I see. I'm just like, you make it look so easy, and I'm just like, why, Father, why can't I? I see what you've done for others.
Well, we're gonna have to like do a little collab. I think we're way overdue for that anyway.
I think that you are correct.
So if you haven't decided what you're doing for Dapper Day, I don't know if we have enough time, but let's try to get it done.
Maybe actually, that is so funny. During this podcast, I placed the order for my Dapper Day.
I can't wait to see. I know those are the 17 boxes that were at my door. That's all.
Why so many? How many looks you wearing, sis?
No, it's like so, so my problem is that it's similar to
You
yours.
started 15 different sentences,
I
but
know,
proceed.
but what happened was, so similar to your problem of like wanting to kind of make it like exact or get the whole picture of the character is
Hmm.
similar to me when it comes to Disney bounding. So a lot of times I'm like scanning like in my head the character from head to toe, and
Hmm.
then there's like another screen where I'm scanning like the character's personality traits, and then there's another screen where I'm scanning like the character's like presence in the movie and like relationships with other people to kind of like create the look that I want to go for. So it ends up being like a bajillion accessories just to tell a story in the outfit.
That that is dope. I love that. See, and I just love that so much. See, you just how man. See, that's not. I'm over here on the floor throwing a whole fit. I'm literally laying on the floor right now. I'm just I'm just doing, because for Spring Dapper Day, my look was like very bright and pink, white, and red, and was like I had this huge flower basket. So this is going to be the same concept, only with darker colors. So it's
Well,
not
that's
even a
you
character.
gotta come through on Saturday.
I
Even if you
can't.
just
I won't be in town. I'm literally the Steven Universe convention. I'm flying out
oh,
Thursday. I'll be
okay.
there Friday, Saturday. I fly home Saturday to San Diego and drive up to Anaheim on Sunday morning.
Well, fine then.
I'm sorry. I'm
I'll send you a
sorry.
picture. I'll send you a picture of what I'm
Send me
doing
a
on
picture.
Saturday.
But you're still gonna be there on Sunday, right?
Yes,
Okay.
all
Well,
day.
first of all, check that tone. But okay, I will be there on Sunday, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited to see. Like Dapper Day to me, just the spirit of it, just because like it's supposed to represent people when Disneyland first opened, they wore their Sunday best, and so it's supposed to be reflective of that time period. But just the energy feels different. Walking around the park, it was like a stroll in a beautiful Edwardian garden where people just went and socialized and everyone was in a good mood. That's what it feels like walking around Disneyland on Dapper Day. For whatever reason, it's just like the air is different, and I just love it so much.
Yeah, I'm so excited. It's gonna be my first one.
Ah, is it
Yes.
really?
So I'm really excited, and I'm gonna do both coasts this year. I just got, you got to rip the band-aid off and go full throttle.
That
So
is what's up. That's beautiful. Oh my god, that's so exciting.
yes. So I mean, hence I gotta come correct. I don't know if it's
You
Sunday best. I'm probably get kicked out the church, but I'm dressing up.
ooh, ooh no, you're gonna. Don't worry. Don't even worry about it. You're gonna slay. Everything you do is going to look amazing and perfect. Just do what you do, and I know that you're going to be fine.
I'm like so excited. I got to get my hair cut because,
And if anyone says anything, girl, we'll fight them. This community
well,
don't
true
really
that.
want to
True
smoke.
that.
They don't really.
Because, yeah, I'm from the Bronx. Do I have
That's
to
what I'm
say that
saying.
again?
Which is interesting when it comes to Disney community drama. I'm like, won't none of y'all say anything in person. It's all online drama. So I'm like, okay, that's why I don't get pressed about it. Just like,
Hmm.
unless you're gonna run up and say something to my face, don't say anything to me at all.
Yeah, you could click clack like Kermit, but, you know,
Right. But you won't have a sit down conversation about it, is what
exactly.
is interesting to me.
Hmm. It's
So
true.
let them say something about your look. Let them. They could see me. I have an annual pass. I'll meet them in the park.
Shoot,
Whatever.
so do I. I'm just a little plane ride away. Shoot, I got some air miles. I've been
You're
saving up. Can
so
make it
funny.
happen.
Right? Whenever you're ready. Whenever.
Yes, but no, I'm so excited for Dapper Day. I'm excited to feel this vibe I've been seeing online for some time. So,
It's gonna be so worth it. It's gonna be so much fun. I'm so excited. That's
yeah.
what's gonna get me through this week before next weekend. Like I just gotta get through a whole week. Today's Thursday, one whole week. Yep.
I know. I'm thinking the same thing.
Mm.
I'm like, I'm working so many days because I actually wasn't off for next weekend, and then I like
Oh,
did,
really?
yeah, I did like mad switches. So now I'm I'm gonna pay the price, but then I'm gonna be living my best life. So it is what it
You
is, you know.
gotta live your best life. You know,
Work
that's
hard,
the
play hard.
priority. Absolutely.
But
It
yeah,
was really up in the air with this job. Apparently, you have to bid to have Halloween off, and my flight was already booked. So they kept going, "Oh, Tiff, what are you doing for Halloween?" I'm like, "I don't know. I won't be here." "Oh, did you find out if you got?" "I don't know, but I won't be here." Like that was my answer to everybody. I don't care what the schedule says. I won't be here.
exactly. Do what you got to do, but
I'm
it's done.
sorry. You're right. Maybe that'll be my last points. Maybe that'll be my final written. I don't know. I can't tell the future.
I heard that. I know. I do my schedule about like 2 months out, but it's
Hmm.
like, and you would think that's enough time, but it ain't.
It's
It
not.
ain't.
It's not.
So it's like, it's hard, and it's hard to plan things 2 months out because you don't always know where life is going to take you.
You really
But
don't.
I'm just grateful, you know. I'm grateful to have coworkers who are flexible or as flexible as me. But it is what it is.
It is.
Shout out to them. And I don't think any of them even listen to this, so it's cool.
Yeah, my coworkers has started to find my social media, and I'm just
Mm,
like, dang, it was supposed to be a secret.
like I mean, so in my environment, there are a lot of Disney fans. Like a good majority of my coworkers like go to Disney very often.
Hmm.
So it's encouraged. It's we have our little support group in there, which I think is cool. But like Disney fandom, I think is completely different.
Hmm.
And like a few of them know like about my Disney bounding and like what I do on Instagram and like maybe a handful of them know about this podcast because they've like heard me listening to it like at work,
Hmm.
but I haven't really shared it that much. So I think it's kind of starting to get out because people are like, "Where's June? She's never around anymore." Because I used to be up in there all the time, and I'm not around as much. And they're like, now they're trying to dig to see what I'm been up to.
That's hilarious. Well, you know what? That's okay because you should have a lot of pride in this because it's amazing.
Thank you.
You're
I, I mean, thank you. Just thank you.
welcome. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying.
It's paying off, sis. It's don't worry. Like you're doing good work, and the community sees you and appreciates you.
Yeah, well, I love y'all. That's what it comes down to for me. Like, I say this all the time. Like, if I could be in the corner somewhere and just like orchestrating stuff and just pushing y'all out there
You
and
did say that. That was our first conversation. You said that. I remember that.
like that would be my dream. Just helping y'all to flourish. The However I can do that, that's what I'm here for. So, I mean, I vibe off of y'all and seeing y'all do these amazing things.
It's
Like
been, hmm?
like your YouTube channel.
Oh, oh.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. It's just my little nerdy corner of the internet. So there's lots of Disney content. There's so much. Sometimes I'm just like, oh, I'm doing another Disney video, groundbreaking, but that it is really reflective of what I do. So lots of Disney. There's movie reviews. I like to do mukbangs, and for people that aren't familiar with those, it's literally just eating on camera. And some people like it for the social aspects of it because it's just sitting having conversation while I get down on some bomb food. So people even comment and they're just like, I have my lunch and I eat it at the same time. And that to me is so dope. Like making it a social thing, even if it can't be live in real time, to me has just been really cool. And recently, the videos that I'm getting ready to post just dive more into things that I talk about on Instagram, but I realized that I wasn't putting on YouTube, but more about my own struggles with depression and anxiety and different things that I go through personally. I realized that I don't talk about that on YouTube, so I wanted to represent more of me outside of just the nerdy space. So that'll be coming to the channel as well.
Yeah, and I love all your content on YouTube, first of all.
Thank
Um,
you.
and I hate eating in front of people, so I'll be like, dang, wow. I give it to you because I'm even when I'm at work or whatever, I'm like, excuse me, can you close the door, please? But so I love that, and I just love how like open you are. I love your commentary, especially for like reviews and whatnot. And I also appreciate your willingness to be open and be vulnerable because I think that depression and anxiety are things that are very common and that people don't even know that they're experiencing it because it manifests in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, I've dealt with so many different types of depression and so many different types of anxiety, from like being postpartum,
Mm-hmm.
and um, from even developing like seasonal depression. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm even gonna lie, I was in my robe for like a week and I didn't even realize. I was like, Girl, you need to go outside and
Yeah,
get some sun." Like I was like,
right.
wow. I was sitting
Sometimes
in
it really does sneak up on you. Yep.
Yeah, and it's like, dang, I have done zero work. I have like pretty much sat in the dark for several days and not
Yeah.
even realized like it's not just you being tired. It
Yeah.
it's all it like it's a manifestation of a lot of things, you
Yeah.
know? And so I think it's really great when people can be open and vulnerable to talk about what they go through and how they've gone through it and what they've done or what they've gone through, or what they've experienced and how they've found ways to cope and found ways to overcome it and found inspiration to kind of help them get through it because your story can help so many others. So thank you for sharing that.
Of course. Thank you. It's been helpful for me too. Like when I started to receive feedback from people, um, that sharing my experiences helped them, that was a bonus. But I did it because like I needed to be able to speak. I felt like the image of me that was online was just, always positive and everything's always good and everything's great, which is cool. And I love when things align that way, but that's not the reality. And I wanted to share that other side and just live in my truth that sometimes things are hard, sometimes I'm not okay, and that is okay. So, and it helped me feel significantly less alone, especially the Starchild socials where it's live and I actually get to speak to people in real time. Like I've really come to depend on the community that I'm growing and that I've been connecting with, and I wouldn't trade that away. So.
Yeah, and like community is so important for sure.
Mhm.
It's like I think it's important to find people who you can relate with,
Mhm.
and it's important to find people who can encourage you as well.
Mhm.
So, I mean, as much as, me and humans don't really get along, I understand human connection is important.
But you know what? It's all about balance, and it's about
Yes.
a balance that you are comfortable with. So I respect that.
Yes. So it's funny. I don't know if you've seen the second Maleficent. I think it's like Mistress of Evil.
No, I'm seeing that. I think tomorrow.
Okay, good. So I won't spoil it for you, but I'm realizing that I connect with Maleficent, like for real.
Oh, girl.
She's like, I don't like you. I don't like you. You cool.
Yeah,
I don't like you. Like
I
that's
feel.
me.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? It's like all of y'all's trash except for you. Over there, you aight. Like we
Right,
good,
right, right, right.
But you don't have to expose yourself to everyone if everyone's not for you, if everyone's not about you. You should connect with the people that you connect with. And
That first Maleficent when she would put revenge on his whole entire bloodline, I was like, I relate. I She's perfectly justified.
like, oh, y'all trying to exclude people. All right, you gonna
Okay, you don't invite me to the party? Bet. You moved on and got a new woman? Cool. Awesome. I'm gonna kill your daughter.
be
Like that it's extreme, but I understood the feeling.
like you ain't gonna never forget me.
Right. Like cool, 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 cool. Excellent. Beautiful. She's lovely.
Right. You mess with the wrong one.
Yep.
That's it.
Not that I'm trying to kill anybody's daughter, just to clarify. But the anger that she felt, that is what I can identify with.
Right. And then she's like, I'm out.
Yep.
Yeah,
Goodbye.
I can't deal
My
with y'all. I'm
throne.
out.
She made her own throne. She was like, "Oh, so we got thrones now? We're royalty. Cool. Bet everyone needs to bow down immediately." And she did
Exactly.
that. And I was just like, "That's a power move. I can't fault her for it." To be, and that's why I don't know. I never thought I would relate more to Disney villains when I was a kid. I thought I was going to be a princess, but listen, life happens, and those villains have stories.
I never felt like a princess, so I don't know. I don't know if I connect with the villains like that. I guess now me and Maleficent's cool, but I'm thinking, was me and Scar down? Probably. I don't know, but yeah, like I mean, it's great to hear their point of view because everyone's a villain to someone.
To somebody. I mean, Dr. Facilier, he was a black man in the 1920s, frustrated with his station in life. I might turn to voodoo too. You know, I'm saying,
Hmm.
listen,
You got to redistribute that wealth somehow.
and someone has to do it. Was he a real villain? I don't. I'm willing to argue that he was not.
I mean, he did step on Rado. Like he ain't got to do that.
Oh yeah, I forgot that. Fuck him. So,
But that's a whole nother conversation too.
it really was. That was not right for him to do that. Like he did it slow too.
you know, he was like, "That's your boy. All right, you gonna feel it." But yeah, we definitely have to go into that on a whole nother
We
event,
do.
whole nother
We do.
scale, medium.
Yes, we do. That's a whole
But
conversation.
I told you some of my favorite videos of yours. Are what's like your very favorite top video that you've ever done on your YouTube channel?
On my YouTube channel, um, probably the first one was a lot of fun for me because it was the hot ramen challenge.
Mm.
That was pretty cool. That was Ramen was delicious. And then probably the other one was speaking on Halle Bailey being cast as Ariel. That was a lot of fun to speak on and got a lot of response as well. So
Yeah, I mean, I never. Well, I'm not even gonna say that. I'm not surprised that it was so controversial to some people, but the way it went down was just like insane.
yeah, and like I told you before we officially started recording, I just got a notification on YouTube that someone commented on that very video from months ago. And I'm just like rolling my eyes like, sis, Ariel's black. Get over it. Like, now I gotta have a whole nice conversation with somebody explaining that if they really don't want to see it, don't go see it. But like, I don't know what you want me to do.
Mm.
Like, don't
And
go see the movie. Like, I don't. Okay.
It's crazy how people don't understand representation until they're not represented.
Right. And it's
Like,
just, but it's not even the same issue.
right, exactly. Because, you have plenty of other places to see yourself.
Absolutely.
But let's digress. Um, so on
Yeah, because we can go
Wednesdays,
all down that rabbit hole.
listen, that'll be, like I said, that's a whole other conversation, a whole other medium. Maybe when I finally start putting up them YouTube videos on Afros and Pixie Dust, we're gonna have those little roundtable discussions that are so desperately
Yes,
needed.
we need to. We need to discuss things in the community and people not knowing which lines to not cross, like we saw this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But
I'm shaking my head right now, but
yeah, me too, girl. Me too.
so you have something called on Wednesdays we go off. And since
Yeah.
this will be airing on a Wednesday, is there anything that you want to go off about?
Oh my goodness. Let me see. I guess the biggest one, because I thought about this question when I saw it, and I was gonna speak really briefly about, because when you go into the Disney parks, what struck me as interesting is like there are all these iconic shots that people are trying to get. Like we all, when we go to the park, there's a lot of people there that are social media people, and even if they're not, they want to get certain shots of the castle. And I saw so much hogging of the space. I was going to speak on that, but then after seeing that post that we were sharing this morning, that kind of takes precedence on things I'm ready to go off about, if we're being completely honest.
Well, go off, sis.
Okay, listen. Um, I'm not trying to call anyone out. I don't believe in cancel culture and things like that because I think that there's room for people to grow. But I also feel like it's not always a safe space within the Disney community to bring certain things up. It falls mostly on deaf ears. But that's part of the frustration of being a person of color and a black person in this community. So when someone that is asked to do an ad for whatever reason for the Lion King, which we know is based in Africa, to me it's very interesting when certain creators decide to incorporate what they consider to be African culture or fashion or hair or whatever into their design. And I think it's a really fine line you can walk when you're asked to take these characters that are not from your culture. And then just the movie was very inspired by African culture, so there's that. But when you're asked to do it as a creator, you have a responsibility at that point. And from what I saw this morning from someone that was not black and his interpretation of, I think it was Rafiki, was done in such poor taste with the dreadlocks, the locks he tried to put into his hair. I know that his defense in it was that he was borrowing from his Filipino culture, but from what I researched, there were no locks involved. So that was something that was clearly inspired by the African side of the Lion King. And to me, it's so tone deaf. And it's getting frustrated in this community when things like that are being praised. And even when someone points out, hey, this might be uncomfortable for people from the Black community, for them to just go, well, I've been inspired and I'm going to do it. And that's just pretty much that. That's really frustrating. And it sucks that it's kind of still happening. And it's something that still has to be explained to people. So it's like, I'm mad about it, but I also understand that people don't intentionally mean to be ignorant. It's just exhausting that it still happens. So if there's something I would like to say to people in general, it's like ask somebody first, damn it, next time if you can. Like get some of your friends together if it's from a culture that's not your own and have a discussion. Find out if this is going to be offensive. And maybe it's not offensive to that specific person, but just get some different perspective on what you're trying to incorporate into your art so that everyone can enjoy it. So that you don't inadvertently offend somebody and take the focus away from the work. Because that to me was such a random thing for this particular creator to do and to add in to his look, the fake dreadlocks for a character that doesn't have them in the first place. It's so weird and so disturbing to see. Like for that to happen right before we started recording this podcast, I was like, oh yeah, no, that's very much on my mind to speak on.
Yeah, I
Like I
feel
said, I'm
you.
not trying to call anyone out or vilify him. It's just like, could you, could, I don't know. I don't expect people to be woke and to be born woke and to know right away, but it doesn't make it any less frustrating to encounter it.
Yeah, and like, I mean, 100% agree with you. And like when I saw that ad, I was just like, I did the I don't even know her name and How to Get Away with Murder, but I just like picked up my
Oh,
bag and kept it
Annalise
moving.
Keating.
Yes, I was just like, what? So, like first of all, Rafiki doesn't even have locks,
No,
so that was kind of
yeah.
like, "Brr? Like what are you
Yeah, right.
trying
So where
to
did this
do?"
come from?
Like, so it didn't make sense. If you were going to do something with your hair to create this costumey kind of look, um, there's, gray dye that you could have done. You could have done some, hair dye or something like that. Like, there's so many
Interesting.
other things you could have done. Or if you're gonna put, uh, you know, hair or faux hair in your head, why don't you just get a gray wig or something like that? If you're gonna do that, I don't know what he was trying to go for. If he was trying to make it seem like everyday hair or whatever, because the whole costume, you have face paint on, so you might as well go all the way out and get a wig or something to that effect. But
It was kind of disconnected for me. Like to me, there's no other way to look at it. You put locks in because it's an African story, and you were inspired clearly by that because it comes from nowhere else. It wasn't you didn't just wake up and say, "I think I want to try using locks in a look," which would be awful for a different reason. Like there's a reason you specifically chose locks for this character. And that was done in incredibly poor taste. And it wasn't even necessarily executed well. I'm confused about the whole ad, if we're being perfectly honest. I'm to this day, is it just an ad for the Lion King DVD release? Like I'm confused as to what he was advertising in the first place.
yeah, I mean, it was yeah, so many words.
So many words.
I mean, I didn't feel good. It made me feel disappointed. It just made me feel disappointed.
Yeah.
And I think it was unfortunate. And I think what made it more unfortunate, because at first I was like, dang, he ain't about that life. Like he don't understand. But then when someone pointed out that someone tried to, gently kind of let him know, like this is probably not the best, direction to take. And the
Mm-hmm.
fact that it was like, oh, but I'm a person of color, so it's okay. I have indigenous background, so it's okay. That's not necessarily the always the best route to take. I mean, we can go on to other situations that have recently happened where, people use different, colloquialisms and slang that aren't necessarily representative of their background and their culture,
Mm-hmm.
but because they are a person of color, they feel like it's not necessarily, wrong for them, or because it is something that is in quote unquote pop culture, that it's okay to use and use freely. And that takes away all the sensitivity, that takes away, like we talked about earlier, all the trauma that is
Mm-hmm.
associated with the experience of that culture, of that word, of that culture's history. And it's unfortunate that people just want to say, oh, I can do this too because I'm a person of color. That it doesn't always go that way,
It
because
really doesn't.
that means for every single thing you better be standing up and supporting other people of color. And don't just try to take something from someone else because you're a person of color, and then not support those people that you're taking things from, because
Absolutely.
that, I
Like old
mean,
girl, Gina Rodriguez.
that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep.
So it's
Right, especially because she's been real vocal in the news prior to the whole singing the Fugees, the Lauryn Hill song. She's been very vocal about specifically not being or identifying as black.
mhm.
So I don't want to suddenly hear, oh, this is just something I've identified with for so long. Da, 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 da. First of all, you only sang one specific line of the song. You weren't singing before that word popped up, and you stopped singing immediately afterwards. And you knew what you were doing when you put it up online. You knew that it was going to get people talking about you, and you knew that there were going to be enough people defending your unwise decision. So take your fake apology and do something else with it because I don't want it, first
Yeah.
of all. And don't try to profit or try to be a part of black culture when, again, you've made it very clear that you do not want to identify as black. So
Right. And I think that um, it's dangerous to cherry pick what you acknowledge and what you don't acknowledge to do things when it benefits you. Um, I think is very problematic, and it's very tone deaf, and it's not sensitive to other people's experiences and what other people have fought for to be able to be accepted. Because you can cherry pick it, but other people have to live that every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So today you can be Rafiki with locks, but tomorrow you ain't gonna be the person who wants to be a cast member where they have guests talking about, oh, you don't look like a cast member should look because you have locks. Like I just read something
Mm-hmm.
about that the other day, someone complaining that cast members don't look the way they used to. What does that mean? And then you're gonna use an
Really?
yes.
About cast members specifically? Oh no, they could fight me.
Yeah, oh, cast members, they just now that they let all these other different types of cast members in, and they
Whoa.
basically this person went out like offended everyone. Like they talked about having overweight cast members not being appropriate, cast members with
What?
facial hair, and when they singled out cast members with locks, I was like, excuse you, like
Right.
when did you become, even if you were Walter Elias Disney, I still would have been like not okay with that. Like, what do you look like? Let's say you strut in a cast member outfit, sir,
And
because
how did it take away from your Disney experience because everyone didn't look like what you were accustomed to?
yeah, like why does someone's body type matter so much to whether you're having a good time in the parks? Why
That's
are you
just a
ogling over these
bigoted
folks anyway?
person. Wow. That's incredible. People are real bold these days.
Hmm.
And I bet he said it on the internet but would never say it to a person.
I wish. I wish.
I wish I was the one.
Let me tell you. But uh, so people have to really understand that you it's cute when you think you can do it for the day, and it's cute that you did it today. But you if you don't understand what people have struggled through their whole lives
Mm-hmm.
to be able to just walk down the street as they are,
Mm-hmm.
like
We don't
you,
want to see our culture used as a costume, period.
right, exactly. And as much as you don't want to acknowledge it, you have to. Okay, you put that out there, you created it, you thought it was great, you thought it was, it was good enough to release, but it didn't work out well. All right, fine. Acknowledge it. So you know what? I didn't know, I didn't understand, I didn't think of it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for putting shining the light on me.
Right. And I respect that so much more than people that double down and they're just like, well, I'm still going to do it because I spent so much time on it. No, it doesn't hurt you to change that aspect of your costume or your look or to not include it in the first place. Had he not used those locks for his Rafiki look, to be honest, it might have read a little bit more clearer who the character was because it was a choice that, like we said, didn't even really represent the character that well. So people just being stubborn and holding on to this, I did it and I'm going to do it regardless of who it hurts, that tells me a lot more about your character than you making the decision in the first place. It's once you become aware of something or if someone's informed you and you decide to go ahead and double down on your ignorance, that's when I have an issue with you.
Yeah, and you don't, okay, if you don't get it, you can, take it to the side and have a robust discussion with someone and then understand where they're coming from. But just to
Right.
say, oh, well, this is how I took it, and so that makes it okay, doesn't always make it okay.
And
Like you
no, it
should,
never makes it okay. It never makes it okay.
yeah, no. And I mean, I know it's art and everyone has their own interpretation of art, but at the end of the day, you gotta, especially when you're representing a company and a piece of art and something that is very near to dear to the Black community, because the Lion King was pretty much a lot of representation, which is zero representation, for the most part, besides our King Jason Weaver, for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't understand, like the Lion King did mean a lot to the Black community, even though we had animals in Africa and it wasn't really like representation of the Black community. There's a lot of people in the Black community that really feel like the Lion King was the way they connected to Disney. And so, I mean, you have to understand that and understand that with that knowledge that this can be offensive. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, even without that knowledge, it's still offensive. But when you take that into account, it makes it even worse.
It does. So I mean, I just but I'm it's one of those things in the Disney community where I'm disappointed but not surprised. It's kind of
Hmm.
it's the reality of of being a fan here sometimes where you're gonna encounter tone deaf people. So it's not gonna stop what I do though. So
That's why we got to build this community
pretty much.
so that when they do want to do something to promote the Lion King,
They
they
reach
have enough
out to
people to choose from.
yeah, because I'm because with the Lion King's release, I'm seeing the different people that are posting about it, and I'm not seeing a lot of people of color. I'm not seeing Black people specifically that have been invited on the press junkets and are doing the coverage for it. So this is another one of those things. It's like it's noted. I appreciate the progress that we have that we've done so far, but we've got a long way to go still.
Yeah, and I feel like we're almost on the precipice of like people really getting it.
Hmm.
Um, so hopefully it happens soon. Happen,
I think that it will.
yeah, I think so too. What would you say is your favorite Disney moment or memory?
Um, my favorite Disney moment or memory. Um, it's not one specific moment, but more just like a time period, and that's when I was a tour guide at Disneyland, working in guest relations. Because the tours were dope, that was cool. But the biggest part of that job was literally when you work in City Hall, your main task was taking people's day and fixing whatever the issue was, and trusting that they weren't trying to scam you, and you had to be on the lookout for that. But people, sometimes families save for years, for entire lifetimes to be able to visit Disneyland. And when they arrive, something goes wrong. It could be their fault, it could be the park's fault. It doesn't really matter. When they came to me, my job was to fix it. And it was dope because the supervisors and management team gave us a lot of leeway as far as what we can give people to make their vacation better. And that meant a lot, not just working in the park and being a part of the legacy that way, but literally protecting it for people and changing their perspective of a day that had gone wrong. That was the best part of the job, period. It made all the other BS that comes along with really any job, it made it worth it, because I've had moms sob into my arms for me fixing their day for them in the best way that I could. And that is probably like my favorite Disney memory, and being part of that magic.
Oh my God, that's beautiful. But it's true. Like, I mean, I think people don't understand. Like, I guess, like for us that go often, and
Yeah.
it's like everyday life for us. There's some people that have really, like, this is a dream,
Mhm.
and they've done what they could, and they finally got here, and it's like, oh wait, it's not as amazing as I thought, or this one thing happened. I was saving up all this time, and this one thing happened, and now I can't experience this, and I don't know when I'm going to be able to go back, and
Mhm.
it's disappointing. Period. Okay, yeah, let's make the most of this trip, but it's disappointing. Listen, when
It
you
can be
got bills,
yeah.
when you actually have to pay for things yourself as an
Right. Oh,
adult,
it makes a whole different flavor on it.
yeah, and
But
then
yeah.
and I think especially now as parents, and as adults, there's things that we dreamed of, there's experiences that we just like can't wait to see our tiny humans experience, or just for us to experience ourselves. And when it doesn't go the way you kind of like dreamed of and anticipated of, it's hard to just go with the flow and be like, oh, it
Mhm.
is what it is. So I think it's great that you have been given that opportunity to kind of help keep the magic going. I think it is beautiful, and I appreciate what you all do because I know it ain't easy.
No, no.
In the
But
rain.
it was always worth it. So to me,
Yeah.
that was the biggest difference.
Yeah.
One specific thing that I just thought of, and I was like, oh, that was really dope. There's a room at Disneyland. It's the Wish Lounge, and it's themed completely after Genie from Aladdin. So it's almost as if you're inside the Genie lamp because it's very like ornate, and there's camels, and the bedpost is super like, you know, very like it's very fancy in there, and there's genie stuff around. And basically it's a room that's utilized by the Make-A-Wish Foundation, because if there's a kid that's there on a wish visit, they can't always keep up with the park, they need a place to rest. And so there's like a TV in there, there's some snacks, there's water and sodas that they have access to like for free and everything. I remember one time that I was there was a kid who was there on his last visit because he was not expected to survive, too much longer after this visit. And he refused to put his pants on. And the mom was just distraught because she wouldn't put, the kid wouldn't put his pants on. And he was like young, like 3 years old. And the dad finally had to just be like, it's his last visit here. Let's just not fuss about this. And we were able to coordinate a visit from Donald Duck because Donald also doesn't wear pants. So he had like a private meet and greet with Donald Duck in there. And it was just very emotional to watch. It was very heartbreaking, but it was such a beautiful moment. And the kid was so happy in that moment. Just being a part of that and sharing that with the different families that would come in, that was a big part of the Disney experience for me too.
Oh my God. That's amazing. That's amazing. And that's beautiful that they have a space like that.
Mm-hmm. It's
Wow.
not advertised because they don't want people like
Oh
going
yeah.
up in there and stuff like that, but it's really cool.
Oh, did he ever put his pants back on? He ain't have to
No.
after that. Why?
Well, before they left the area, he would have had to put his pants back on, but by
Oh,
then I had
okay.
rotated out the room, so
Oh. I mean, just throw a blanket on him, put him in the stroller,
right,
right?
fine. Pants are overrated.
Listen, Adam and Eve, I blame you.
Oh no.
So is there one thing about yourself that you would like for everyone to know?
Ooh, about me?
Yeah.
Um, one thing I would like people to know about me. I don't know. Like, listen, hey, I'm just a normal girl out here. um, trying to make it happen, trying to figure it out as I go. I think that um, now I'm just a person in the community like them, that's just a fan like them, that likes to express myself creatively like a whole lot of other people. And so I I just I just like connecting to people, and so I'm hella normal as far as like um yeah, that's about it. It's interesting for me, especially as my numbers grow and things like that. When I do meet people in the parks, they have these big reactions, and I'm just like, yo, I'm just Tiffie. Everyone needs to chill. Like, not that it's like big, I think I'm hyping it more than it is, but I've noticed that, and I'm geeking out over other people as much as they are over me. So I don't know, just a person here enjoying Disney with the rest of y'all. That's all.
When people see you, they see that one like snapshot or those few snapshots. And like everybody's complex. I know it ain't just Gemini's. Like everyone got layers, right?
Hilarious. That could be true. Yeah. I'm just
uh,
trying to build a community. Let's enjoy this Disney thing together. That's what I'm all about. Let's just.
yeah. But I love the time we spend together. I love meeting you in the parks and beyond. And I think
Yes,
you're dope.
ma'am.
And I think,
Oh, thank you. I think you're dope. I think that what you do is incredibly dope.
this is the whole thing that I've loved the most about building this community and having this community finally is like I would have never found you. I would never found someone that I connected with, not only just with Disney love, just in a personality wise and just like in a whole vibe. Like I would have never met you in my life if it wasn't for this, if it wasn't for building
That's
the fandom.
very true.
And it's like, I mean, you're across the country, and I miss New York ride or die all day, every day, like all of that. And like that would have, I would be like, what? You know, it would have never
I'm over here
happened.
super Californian.
And so that's what I love about this community is like you never know who you will find. You never know relationships you will build. And
Yeah.
I mean,
I
that's
feel
what
the same way. I'm very happy to have linked up with you and the different people in our community that we talk to every day. Like, I
Yeah.
love y'all. I definitely view y'all as family.
Yes. And I think that's beautiful. So like if your coworker don't get it, if
No,
your cousin don't get it, you
I just
know.
hop over to the group chat.
Exactly. It's like you don't have to. I don't need that energy. Let me go over here and do me. You figure it out.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that's what I love. And I'm really so happy that we have connected.
Me
Uh,
too. And am so excited to watch what you do and to see how you grow and see what you continue to put out there and produce. Because I know that it's going to go places. I have every faith, I have every belief in that.
well, you're going to be right there along with me. So,
Hell yeah.
let's do this. So, this has been amazing as expected.
Yay.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I think we're on like hour 3 or something like
Yeah, I think
that.
it's going on 3 hours.
But if people want to get to know more about you and to find you, where can they do that?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Tiffie Starchild, Tiffie Starchild. And then also on YouTube, same name, Tiffie Starchild. That's the best place to see me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'll be sure to put all that in the show notes so people can just click the link and follow through, you know.
Yay.
But thank you again so much for spending this time with me. This has been amazing. This has been interview one of God knows how many we'll have in
It's
the
good. Yep.
future. Just the beginning. And I can't wait to see you next weekend.
It's gonna be amazing. Oh, I need to have you on a YouTube video. So I'm gonna figure
Uh,
out something that we could do out there
okay.
while we're both at the park in our beautiful Dapper Day outfits. Yes.
Yes, I'll be down all day. I'll
Yeah.
be down.
Yay. Perfect.
You've just heard my conversation with Tiffie. If you've never thought about cosplaying or going to a convention, I hope you're at least considering it now. Be sure to follow her on Instagram and check out her vlog on YouTube. You definitely won't regret it. I love watching her videos. I've linked all of her info in the show notes. The POC small business for this episode is the Lucky Cricket, also known as Koala Cosplay. She is a cosplay designer, so if you are interested in commissioning her for some work, hit her up on Instagram at Koala Cosplay. And as always, if you've enjoyed what you've heard, please be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share this podcast with all of your friends. And also be sure to join the Afros and Pixie Dust Facebook group so we can chat more about our fall Dapper Day plans. So until next time, never stop deep conditioning or pursuing your happiness.